Mr. Luxon. There he is. He's adorable. He's my fave, I think. Of all the Luxons, Chris Luxon is my favorite. I made something today, and if you follow me on Twitter, yes, Chewy, I actually mean Twitter. That is actually a real site. You will have probably already seen it, but I'll just play a couple of clips and see if you get a bit of an idea as to what it might be about. Let's have a look at our hairless leader on breakfast this morning. He was talking to Jenny May Coffin, and they were talking about the hikoi and sort of why didn't you go out to meet them? And I swear to God, Jenny May asks him the identical question 3 times about the hikoi, and all he'll say is, I don't support the hikoi. It's almost like he's trying to be subtle about sorry. Not I don't support the hikoi. I don't support the law. I don't support the treaty principles bill. Sorry. So all he would answer for any question was, yep. I don't support the treaty's principle bill, like running from it from a mile. It was just fascinating to watch. Let's have a listen.
What did you feel as thousands of people gathered outside Parliament yesterday?
Oh, look, it was a significant day, and there's a strong range of feelings on all sides of this debate about.
We've said this before, Mr. Luxon. There are not all sides. This is not a dodecahedron of opinion. It's 2 sides. There's the correct side, which is not David Seymour's, and then there's the other side. There's only 2 sides for this conversation.
Treaty principles bill.
Sorry, can I just get acknowledgement of using the word dodecahedron? Anyone? No one? Anyone? Yeah,
it's one of the best.
Our message has been really clear. Look, we're not supporting the bill. We won't support its second reading, and therefore it doesn't become law. But I understand the strength of feeling on all sides of that debate.
You say it was a significant day. Why didn't you go out and greet the crowd?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we basically, the real reason was that a lot of the organisers were Te Pāti Māori. They have an opportunity to interrogate me in the House each and every week.
This is the other thing. It's not a Te Pāti Māori march. Never was. Isn't. And this is one of the things they're palming it off with. We can face them in the House, but we can face them outside. It wasn't. Obviously, Te Pāti Māori was there and heavily involved because, of course, of where their support lies and where their focus is. But it actually wasn't a Te Pāti Māori march, and he keeps saying it. And I think what I've realised is, much like Trump in America, I think he thinks if he keeps saying things, it becomes true all of a sudden, and then he actually believes it as well.
It's not just him either. Seymour has said it, that this is a Te Pāti Māori thing, and Winston has said it today as well, going as far as to say that it is a Te Pāti Māori astroturf thing, which just shows that Winston doesn't know what astroturf means. Maybe he should ask David Seymour, who is much closer to New Zealand's biggest astroturf organisation, the Taxpayers Union.
All right, let's keep going.
We did send a delegation of National Party MPs out to represent us in our position, which was really good. And importantly, I get to talk to iwi leaders, up and down the country continuously, and in private and in public, and some of the sessions and meetings that we have as well. So, from my point of view, the message is really clear to the general hikoi, which was that, we're not supporting the bill and it won't become law. And there's good reason for why we're not supporting it, which is that it's overly simplistic. You don't go negate 184 years of debate and discussion with the stroke of a pen. I think our approach is better, which is you pick it up issue by issue, and importantly, we're here to make sure that we improve outcomes for Māori and non-Māori, and that means focusing on the economy, law and order, health and education, and frankly, this doesn't help us do that.
I just want to bring you back to the question about why you didn't actually greet the thousands that turned up at Parliament yesterday. You are the leader of this country. Those people that turned up yesterday, did they not deserve your attention?
Well, again, my message to the hikoi in general has been very clear from day one, that we're not supporting the bill and it won't become law. As I said, we agreed.
Just saying, it might be a bit subtle for you to pick up on, Chewy, but has anyone noticed the non-answer? Why didn't you go out? I don't support it. Yeah, but why didn't you go out? We don't support it. We know nothing about it. We don't even know how to spell principle. We don't know if it's the PAL or the PLE. We don't know which one it is. We don't support it. Chewy.
He's real good at this. Hipkins went after him with a very similar question. And this is his fallback position. to just keep repeating that they're not supporting the bill past its first reading. We know, not the question.
Yeah.
Not the question. Why didn't you speak to the people from, and I point out again here, hikoi, not hikoi, that was the groundswell one with the tractors. Why didn't you go out and tell them, I'm not supporting it past the first reading? That would be much more efficient than just repeating it to us in the same interview where we've already seen you say it twice. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good point. And also remember, he did signal last week, he was like, yeah, I probably will meet with some of the leaders, maybe not out the front, but that didn't even happen.
It was so wishy-washy
Yeah.
and dismissive. I haven't even thought about it. I might go out. Well, I might invite the people in. I haven't actually given it much thought because I don't respect the fact that this is the biggest protest, biggest hikoi in generations.
Mark says not supporting won't be law times 4. You wait, it's a lot more than times 4. But once time we get to the end of it.
From day one that we're not supporting the bill and it won't become law. As I said, we agreed as a caucus, we've been very unified on this, to send a delegation out to receive the hikoi here in Parliament, but also to represent our position. And as I said, I've had conversations and continue to have conversations with iwi leaders up and down the country regularly around these kinds of issues, and we'll continue to do so. So I think our position's been pretty clear about it.
Not the answer.
Yeah, and I just want to ask this question one more time.
Yeah.
The sheer size and the diversity of the crowd that turned up yesterday did it not warrant your engagement?
Look, again, as I said before, we reached out to some of we had a conversation with some of the organisers. They're all Te Pāti Māori organisers. As a result, there was no real need to meet with those leaders because we understand their position and they can have an opportunity, as I said, in the House to hold me to account as they should as opposition parties. But we did have a representation from our national party out there, which is the way we wanted to handle it.
There you go. Clip number 1, Chewy. So why didn't he go out to meet with the people? I don't support the principles, treaty principles, legislation. Yeah, but why didn't you go out? Oh, look, I've said it before, I don't support the treaty principles bill. Yeah, but why didn't you go out? Oh, because they can talk to me in Parliament. So actual no answer.
It's all a Te Pāti Māori beat up, apparently, because
Astro too.
Te Pāti Māori should just be in the House, sitting quietly, following the rules. And if a group of Māori people turn up, there's Te Pāti Māori again. Is Te Pāti Māori in the room with us right now, Chris? Everywhere. It's all Te Pāti Māori. Like I don't know how many votes did they get. What's the percentage? Like is that the metric? Like if I turn up to a Labour organised thing, am I now a Labour supporter despite who I voted for? Is this how it works? I also want to zero in on one thing. Every time Christopher Luxon says, trust me, do not trust that man. Don't trust him like he's hanging around outside of school in a white van. That same thing. He told the people of Dunedin, trust me, I'm going to build you the hospital that you deserve.
Yeah, build you the bigger and better.
That was an election promise.
Bigger and better. That's going to be bigger and better.
That's the yardstick.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's move on to the next bit. And the next bit they were talking about, and look, this was we're not playing this bit off the working group tonight, but they had a chat last night about, because Willie Jackson was there and Duncan Garner, kind of saying Luxon was either naive or stupid to get involved like he has with Seymour, and he probably is not aware of what he was getting himself into. And this question from this morning, is there any regrets of supporting this bill? Do you have any regrets at all, Mr. Luxon?
No, because this is the reality, Jenny May, which I think media and also the New Zealand public understand at some level, is that rightly or wrongly, the New Zealand people have chosen the MMP system as the electoral system here in New Zealand.
What?
And that means, as you see in modern MMP environments all around the world, think about Western Europe, for example, that you will have coalition governments. And there are now 6 parties in the parliament here in New Zealand that have different views and different perspectives and represent different groups of New Zealanders. And that is how the people of New Zealand want it to be, that they come together and we actually have to make compromise in order to actually form governments. And it's the same on all sides, whether it was a Labour Te Pāti Māori Greens-led government, in this case, ACT New Zealand First International.
Let's pause that just for a second there, eh? This is a genuine question. People in the chat, help us out. Can you think, Chewy, of any kind of legislative manoeuvring that, say, the Greens would do in coalition with Labour, or Te Pāti Māori would do in coalition with the Greens and Labour, that would be so, I don't know, disrespectful of the country, that would be so controversial? Like, is there anything, like straight away, I think Māori Party maybe wanting a Māori Parliament. If that was we're not going to partner with you, then you know what would happen? They wouldn't partner with them. But can you think of anything, like any kind of policy that's so divisive and so kind of out there on the wing that any of those parties would force the other one to participate in? Is there any?
Yes. This is a policy I'm going to come up with right now, though.
Sure.
Imagine if the Green Party would only go into coalition with Labour if they turned public golf courses into conservation land.
Yeah, but then
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. I mean, like, so what I hear you saying is there's nothing that comes to mind immediately as an actual, like, think about the policies they had at the last election. There's nothing of those policies that are like, that would have to have, let's say, a Karen McEnulty Prime Minister going, oh, look, I don't really want to do this, but we have to because it's coalition and, have no choice. And I can't think of anything. Now, there might be something, that's why I'm saying chat, or if you're watching this on demand, put it in the comments below. What is something that you've heard from those parties that could be hated as much as this is by such a large portion of New Zealand? That's all. That's all.
Yeah, there's nothing. And his blaming of MMP, when we've had this for what?
Mid-90s, 30 years,
20 years, whatever. Like, MMP is not an unknown thing, but it's something that I've noticed that's creeping in is the criticism of MMP as a system, and now he's blaming his inability to make a deal that doesn't fucking explode all over him.
Yeah.
Is that's the fault of MMP. Look, I had to do it because you guys chose MMP. I don't want to do it. I wanted to rule this country like a king. But I have to share it with these two guys. And let me tell you, I am incapable of making a deal.
Better than me.
Said something about because I've been a CEO of an airline that you might be familiar with. I know all about mergers and acquisitions. There's nothing in my work history that suggests that that's true. But I'm going to say it. All I did was I was the CEO of Air New Zealand and I just stuck my finger in a P&L statement and I held on and hoped that the airline didn't collapse. I followed Rob Fife. He was a great CEO. But all I had to do was not piss off the air crew. And I tell you, I wasn't able to do it. And then I was in politics. Mergers and acquisitions. Fuck off.
Let's get some more of him in politics now, shall we?
Government. We agree on the vast majority of the approach around the economy, law and order, public services, but we have a fundamental difference here, and that's okay in a mature MMP environment.
Yes,
to actually,
and I'm really sorry to interrupt.
To have these kind of issues.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to interrupt you, Prime Minister, because we've heard you say that on a number of occasions, but the reality is that this bill is only before Parliament because you supported it. I mean, how much leverage did David Seymour actually have? Were ACT going anywhere else? Were they going to go and join Te Pāti Māori, Labour and also the Greens? How much leverage did David Seymour actually have at the negotiating table?
Well, I just say to you, I'm trying to make the point, Jenny May, that you've got kind of a first-past-the-post mentality in an MMP environment. We are in a modern MMP environment. It has matured.
No, yeah, and the thing is, he is using MMP as a coverall for his bad negotiation skills. So that's what he's doing. He's using MMP to say, I had to make a shit deal, or else the other guys might have been in charge, or else ACT might have been across the benches and they would have controlled everything. So it's not my fault because I can't negotiate or don't know what I'm doing. It's MMP's fault. So MMP here is the boogeyman underneath the under the bed.
He was negotiating with 3 different people. Winston Peters, David Seymour, and the clock that was in the room. He wanted to be seen to be a fast deal maker. That was the big thing, remember? Every time Winston's been in an MMP government, it's taken ages to form the coalition agreement.
And it's fallen over before the end of the term. Remember that? And it's fallen over before the end of the term.
Winston, I have no problem imagining, as a hard negotiator. He's been in the game since before negotiation was invented. I'm pretty sure he came up with it.
Yeah.
But Seymour's not a hard negotiator. He's got no experience in it because he's never been in a position of being needed in that way, both as a human and as a political operator. So for him to get fucking dog walked into this political hand grenade is just a sign of how bad he is at it.
Yeah.
Like, he could have just gone, look, we're the majority government. Even I can recognize that this is political suicide and it'll put a division through this country like we've never known before. It's racist bullshit and I will not be associated with it. And we'll sit in this boardroom until you fucking realize, what else do you want?
Or we will go to the public and tell them that ACT is the stumbling block. We cannot form a government, and we will not allow them to be in the opposition benches, because that would mean, New Zealand, that ACT would make every decision. So therefore we are recalling a new election.
Oh, can you imagine?
But I mean,
stones that would take
yeah,
to go out here and go, New Zealand, we haven't got a government yet because David Seymour wants to do a great big racism and I won't let it happen.
All right, we're going to keep going with our hairless leader.
And it means compromise. And so not every party got what they wanted. And in this case...
Yeah, I'm the leader that puts lose-lose positions out there.
You know, National was strongly against this bill. ACT really were very for the bill and wanted it to go out to a full national referendum. And we found a compromise which enabled an aeration of the views through a select committee process.
Which enabled division and racism for an 18-month period, officially thanks to the government.
Where submissions will be open and then closed, I think, on January the 7th. And then, as I said, we don't support the bill after this, and neither does New Zealand First, unless the opposition parties do. It doesn't become law.
So then do you support shortening the public submission periods for the bill?
Well, those are decisions now for the Select Committee, you know, and the Select Committee, as you saw yesterday, came out and said they imagine that submissions will close on January the 7th. There'll be some oral submissions and they'll work through a process from there as a Select Committee in Parliament of all parties of MPs that are on those committees work that through.
You can express a preference, though. What is your preference?
No, I can't. I have no stance.
No, it's important that the rules of Parliament are upheld. And so, you know, this is a bill that's gone through to first reading. It goes through...
Can you imagine David Seymour or Winston Peters going, I'm not going to share my personal opinion, even if it is the right thing to do, even if he's saying the right things? Can you imagine it any other way?
Select committee process. The chair of the select committee and on that select committee are all the parties within Parliament. Their job now as parliamentarians is to deal with that bill and to hear public submissions and then ultimately to make a decision about what they feel about it going forward. It then comes back to the House and we vote against it.
There you go. With a big $4 million waste of time paycheck for it. The lovely Harry Tam has just joined in with us. But before we get to Harry, I'm going to play you one other thing that's 2 minutes long. Because see if you picked up on what Mr. Luxon was what message Mr. Luxon was trying to pass in that session. So this is 2 minutes from the conversation, and there's at least 10 times in that 10-minute conversation he says something to the fact of this, something to the level of this.
A number of MPs greeted the hikoi, even the man
See if you can pick the subtlety that Mr. Luxon has is what he's trying to say.
Responsible for the bill, David Seymour, but the Prime Minister did not. He was also absent from the bill's introduction to Parliament and its first debate. He does join us now, though. Morena, Prime Minister, appreciate your time this morning. What did you feel?
Morning, Jenny Ray. Good to be with you. But our message has been really clear. Look, we're not supporting the bill. We won't support its second reading, and therefore it doesn't become law. So, from my point of view, the message is really clear to the general hikoi, which is that, we're not supporting the bill and it won't become law. And there's good reason for why we're not supporting it, which is that it's overly simplistic. You don't go negate 184 years of debate and discussion with the stroke of a pen. Well, again, my message to the hikoi in general has been very clear from day one, that we're not supporting the bill and it won't become law. Well, again, the point I was trying to make, and I hold to those views really strongly, and it's why we don't support the bill and never have supported the bill, is because I actually think the conversation and the debate and the discussion over 184 years has actually made us a better country. You can't, through the stroke of a pen, through a bill like this, go and negate 184 years of debate and discussion. Well, I think the national approach is a much better approach than doing a simplistic treaty principles bill in this way. And then, as I said, we don't support the bill after this, and neither does New Zealand First, unless the opposition parties do. It doesn't become law. Well, again, as we have said before, even during the election campaign, it's not something we support.
There's still 30 seconds to go, Joey. Stick with us.
Because
it's
overly simplistic for dealing with what is a really complex set of issues that have built up over 184 years. Well, again, as I said to you, Jenny May, for over a year and a half, we don't support the Treaty Principles Bill because it's overly simplistic. Our government is focused on those outcomes, and frankly, the Treaty Principles Bill doesn't drive us towards doing that work, and that's why we'll vote it down and it won't become law.
Christopher Luxon, Prime Minister, joining us this morning. Tēnā koe.
Thank you, Jenny May.
I know it's kind of subtle. I know I do subtlety well, but just in case you missed it, apparently he doesn't support the bill and he wants everybody to know it. That was from, just so we're clear, that was from this morning's one interview, which was about 10 minutes. And there was either 10 or 11 times he said some variant of "we don't support the bill." Yes, Chewy.
I'm pretty sure I've worked out why they try to keep him away from interviewers.